Welcome back to the solar system series known as Have You Thought About It This Way? Where we talk about the most detail-oriented sign in this ecliptic, known as Virgo. Now, being with the the whole title situation of this video, we're going to be talking about Mercury in Virgo. Now, if you know a little bit about astrology, this is this placement primo right here, man, does well. Anyways, so let's get into it a little bit, right? Mercury in Virgo, Mercury in Virgo, Mercury in Virgo. So, let's go into a little bit about Mercury, right? Mercury is the planet of thinking and communication. It's the little, toddler, baby brother type of, little bro situation that's spitting off right off of the sun. And it just likes to capture in, the light that's emitted, focus on it a little bit, and basically take things down from, the light emitted to your mind and making it into something, practical, understandable, and very detail oriented. So you can actually get a good idea and communicate this on a broad level, per se. You know what I'm saying? So, with that out of the way, let's talk about Virgo a little bit, right? Virgo is the sign of mutable Earth, right? So it means it's adaptable and changeable to different ways of thinking and practicality. It's basically, so if Gemini is the masculine side of Mercury that actually emits all of these thoughts and gets, bounces around, finds out, talks to people, thinks about this, thinks about it here, maybe quiet, maybe talking about this over here, just bouncing around, right? Virgo is the one that can sit back, receive all that information, and synthesize something so it can actually focus on what it wants to right in this very moment. You know what I'm saying? So it's with that being said, it's the feminine side to Mercury, and it also, it does well in Mercury here, but we'll get to that in a second, right? Another thing about Virgo is it's born from the 6th house. The 6th house is basically the, like I said, it's the house that gave birth and actually, created this constellation that we know as Virgo, or the 6th house sign. It is, basically what this means is that the 6th house is its overarching influence that basically, Virgo will carry out through its day-to-day life in any situation that you have, the Virgo, the freaking Virgo sign placed in, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, Virgo is, with this being the case, what is the 6th house? The 6th house is basically the house of the work process. It's the second house in the set of 3 houses in the Earth trine, where where the second house is the first part of the Earth situation, where it's okay, these are the basic situations, these are the basic details, this is what I have, this is the value system that I could utilize to give me a freaking foundation to work on and manifest what I want to create, right? Moving on, and a couple houses later, we have the 6th house, which is Virgo, which is the work process. It's okay, I got this, I talked about this, I thought about this is my vision, now I'm in the work process. So what does that look like? I have to create the steps, I have to create the blueprint of what I'm trying to create, flesh that out, look at it, figure out what's pertinent in the moment, and then follow accordingly on a schedule so I can consistently get what I got going, you know what I'm saying? This is the house that Virgo is born from, and this is what it creates, and this is a part of the, it's not the entire reason why they're so anal, but it's a part of the reason to why they're so you know what I'm saying? It's the part of the reason that gets them focusing on always the future. How can I make it better? How can I improve? Perfection, improvement, efficiency. This is freaking Virgo right here, you know what I'm saying? So, with this being the case, let's talk about the planetary alignments that go along with Virgo that sort of help build the archetype of what I'm saying, So, Virgo is, it's ruled by Mercury and kind of borderline exalted. It's sort of like the inverse of one of the quincunx situations, to where it's Mercury, it's at home here, but also likes to be here, It's like being born into a really good home that takes care of you. They got a college fund. They got, they got your foods that you like. You can shit, If you like to work out, they'll have a massage and physical therapist ready so you can stay limber and maneuverable and have the proper blood flow necessary to, just perform at peak function most of the time. But you're also home and there's a little bit of downtime going on. You can't focus on everything even though you may want to, so that gets a little bullshitty in the way. But for the most part, it's pretty damn good here, and you're happy to go home every damn day, you know what I'm saying? This is Virgo, right? Mercury right here. It loves to be here. And then another thing you can also kind of take into Mercury is it's sort of, you could say that it's kind of co-ruled by Chiron in a way, because it goes through a lot of bullshit-ass situations through the work process that help it, like learn and gain information along the way that actually improve in that, you know, in the after the fact you go through this situation, help you learn from your mistakes. But it's not ideal, you know. This is where the part of the bullshit that kind of takes down the whole. It takes down, you know, Virgo a couple notches if it got to only live at Mercury. You know what I'm saying? Now, Virgo also falls. No, it doesn't fall. We're not there yet. It is away in Jupiter as well as Neptune. You know, it doesn't really like to expand. It doesn't really like to answer these why questions. It just wants to know what will work now and what will work well. You know, and then it also falls in Venus. Oh, we're gonna have a blast once we get there. Freaking falling in Venus. Oh, I can't wait till I do Venus for this fucking sign. That's gonna be so fucking funny. Venus, man, snapping. But you're tired. You're trying to put the learning process on love, appreciation. No, it just no. That's it. Is what it is. But anyways, let me break down these traits of Virgo. I know I kind of rambled on a little bit about the, I mean Mercury and Virgo. I know I rambled on a little bit about the whole like traits behind Virgo, but it's important. And you being a Virgo, if you have this sign, will want the details. Am I lying? You know what I'm saying? So let's talk about this a little bit, right? So what you can kind of glean from understanding like how Mercury and Virgo works is it already works well. It loves being here. You know, that's you know, enough said right there. Like, it's the freaking planet of its rulership and kind of exaltation, you know. It's like being born into a wealthy and loving family at the same time. Take that, movie writers. You know what I'm saying? So the way I kind of like to break this down is from the both aspects of mutable and earth, right? And sort of like, you know, there will be a third point that kind of brings them together, but we're getting there. So the mutable aspect is the part that, like, Mercury really likes because it wants to bounce around and see all these ideas. It wants to, you know, it wants to freaking hit the symbol. You know? It wants to freaking, I guess that was a hi-hat. Let me actually hit a cymbal. Hopefully you can hear that. But it wants to hit the cymbal. It wants to touch the drum set. It wants to lift the weights. It wants to touch onto these pipes. How do these pipes work? You know, are they insulated? Are they not? If I go down south, do they have to be insulated? If I, you know, probably not. Maybe part of the year, you know, you got to keep the faucet running a little bit so that the pipes don't actually freeze over for the 2 weeks out of the year down in freaking Florida or Alabama or whatever the fuck you are. You know, so it like doesn't get a little, my pipes don't work. I don't want them cracking. You especially don't want them sewage pipes cracking, but that's another story. You know, this is the type of shit that Virgo likes to, you know, think about, right? It may not necessarily like to communicate it. There may be a specific time and place that Virgo likes to communicate, which is the difference from a Mercury and Gemini versus a Mercury and Virgo, because, you know, the whole thinking and practicality aspect kind of wipes out the communication part at times with the Mercury and Virgo. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the Earth part, to where it's just like, where it sort of takes things from other Earth signs and it's just like, you know what, I'm going to let you have those thoughts right there. I don't need to, you know, dive into that. That's all you, bro. You know, the freaking Mercury and Virgo person won't really necessarily want to talk to a certain person all the time unless there's actually a practical reason to talk about it. They may come up with a practical reason because they can see, you know, like a lot of the time they'll probably come up and be like, oh, okay, there's a logical fallacy here, there's a logical fallacy there, you fucked up there, you could do better here, you know, and they'll like to communicate like the sort of, like, I mean, you'll take it as sort of criticism, but they'll mean it as like constructive criticism, you know what I'm saying? But that where the sort of, this is where the fall in Venus kind of comes in, you know what I'm saying? Because it's just like, they don't care about relating to you. It's all about the practicality of it. They don't give a fuck about your emotions being okay, right? They care about you being the best freaking debater you possibly can. Even if it's a friendly, you know, argument, debate, or just a conversation among friends. They don't give a shit. You know, like, it's just how they think. Like, it's like, I don't want to say they think like a robot in some way. It would be like a biometric robot that can understand the fact that you feel, and if it's, you know, practical to the relationship that they're maintaining, like, they will, you know, learn to deal with your feelings. But for the most part, they're not going to communicate you and just chime into the conversation with something that you'll be like, you know what, man, thanks for calling me out on that. I love, you know, just being told I'm wrong periodically. You know, like, they'll look at you kind of weird if you say something like that. Like, why would you say that? I just, like, gave you the freaking right answer to what you were saying wrong, while the fact that you're kind of hurt in a certain way just gleans over their head. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, for the most part, this isn't like this won't happen most of the time because a lot of Virgos will go through these situations early on in life. I mean, Mercury and Virgos will go through these situations early on in life to where it's kind of like, you know, like maybe I shouldn't just talk shit like that all the time. And maybe it'll take a couple years, but usually it'll kind of hit them in the feels a little bit before it gets too out of hand. You know what I'm saying? And when something like that does sort of hit them in the feels, they'll think about it constantly, like, why did this person do this to me? Why did this person do this to me? And like completely neglecting the fact of why they feel some type of certain way about this situation. But, you know, it is what it is. You know, these Virgos, like, they'll learn quick. Like I said, they'll struggle with the relating and appreciating aspect. But, you know, eventually they may not learn the feelings part of it right away, but they will learn the, they'll learn, like, more of a timing situation of when they can sort of hop in with these constructive criticisms. You know what I'm saying? And I don't mean the air quotes in, like, a necessarily harmful way to you Mercury and Virgos. I mean them in, like, you know, like, no matter what you do, most of the other signs of the world are kind of feelers. So they're, like, at some point, you know, like, they're always, even if you are right, they will look at you like, man, fuck you, I don't want to hear that shit, I want to have fun, you know, why do you always gotta be coming down on my ass like a fucking accountant telling me I owe this much money to the government in a freaking, you know, factual way? Like, I don't want to hear that. Like, why can't you just be cool, man? Why can't you be cool? And it's just like, it is what it is, man. This is why you guys will kind of like stay in your heads a little bit more, just working on your business, being like, okay, how could I make this better? How could I make this better? Because, you know, the little tirade that I just went on is more of a 30% ratio of what you're doing, while the other 70% is you actually just thinking and focusing your mind on what you have going on and how you can improve it and how you can make it better the most efficient way you possibly can. Not only making the product or whatever end goal that you have more efficient, but the way you work on it too. You will also try to, as you work on this, you will also try to, you know, construct and synthesize a way of how you could work on efficiency in a more efficient way. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how deep, like, Mercury and Virgo people go, because their mind's always going on what they have going on. You know, like, taking it back to the whole, like, emotional situation I'm talking about. Like, if people look at you like, fuck you, why did you say that to me? Why did you just give me this quote-unquote constructive criticism, even though it is, and just, like, not give, like, I thought you were my friend, man, you know? Like, if they came across that situation, they would be like, you know, they would put, like, they may write it off, they may not, but if it keeps coming and coming and happening, they will take it, like, a lot of time. That may keep them up a little bit at night, but, you know, they don't really care like that. This is the freaking thinking sign. They're not going to be like, oh, why did I do this? You know what I'm saying? Like, they will, but it won't be from the emotional standpoint that I sort of projected it with. It'll be like, you'll really sit back. They may even, like, actually do the math and being like, oh, okay, this percent of the time this works, this percentage of the time this works, and this percentage of the time this works. And it's just like something that no one else would put in their percentage of the times working with. But since they have that, like, fall in Venus aspect to where they don't exactly, like, feel or appreciate the whole, like, relating to people situation, they'll just be like, you know, well, you know, I gotta work with it somehow, so I'm gonna work with what I know, you know what I'm saying? Because that's the most efficient way they can do it, keeping it to the technical details of the situation. You know, so they may sit back kind of with a little formula for themselves and, like, refine it over time of how they can relate and not get into these situations. But that isn't exactly feeling, you know, that's kind of working with their side, and they're not actually putting in the work to understand how people feel. But, you know, this is the thinking planet, so who gives a shit, you know, you're thinking. That's what you're going to do anyway. It's your path of least resistance. Anyways, let's run through the planets a little bit and basic overview, right? So, Mercury is the planet of thinking and communication. You know, when it's placed in Virgo, it does phenomenal here. It can do exactly what it wants to do and more. You know, you could sort of, it's kind of a rulership sort of exaltation. You know, it loves being at home here. Just look at it as like a loving, healthy, wealthy, you know, family full of love, light, and just positivity. And that's how Virgo feels about being in Mercury. And then let's also talk about, you know, the Virgo a little bit, right? So Virgo is, you know, rule, doing well here, doing well in Mercury, man. You struck the jackpot with this sign. It is away in Jupiter as well as Neptune, even though it's an outer planet, but that's another story. And then it falls in Venus. Anyways, Thanks for watching, the solar system series known as Have You Thought About It This Way, where we talk about the most detail-oriented sign in this ecliptic known as Virgo. Peace.